Wells, back to production. What you say? I'm fed to make a stereo. Uwa, diho, sugiza. Uwa, diho, subutunzi. Uwa, di.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Get Real with Seven podcast. Today I have my girl Nisha. I'm gonna give her an opportunity to introduce herself in a little bit, tell you guys who she is and what she's about, and just give you guys a little bit of background story of who she is. But the reason why I decided that I want to interview her, not only does her food look delicious, but I had some of her mac and cheese, and that thing was popping. You know what I'm saying? It was popping. It was really good actually. The day that I left your house, like I went in the car and I started eating it. It was really good. But she's just an overall great human being, and even though we didn't have a conversation like over Facebook message, and you were willing to come interview with me, so I appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time. But with that being said, man, tell the people who Nisha is. I know you're from Michigan. We're part of Michigan. How long were you there for, and then you moved down to Arizona? Just give people a little summary of Nisha before we get into the podcast.
Okay, my name is Vinneshea. I am from Flint, Michigan. I moved here when I was 6 with my family, and we moved here basically my mom moved us down here for a better life.
Right.
We didn't live in a good area, and she just wanted us to start over basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was raised in Arizona. I moved to Florida when I was 17, 18, and then came back to Arizona, which was better. And then I started my own business last year, August 31st of last year.
Right.
And it's been a year and it's been going great.
Okay, so that you're literally giving me very brief parts of Nisha's life. Like, I think you're starting to get to the almost like I want to call it a high end. Like, people start from the bottom now over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we always see people like once they finally make it, but we don't see them when they had to go through the struggle and their downfalls, right? You said that you went to Florida when you were 17. Can you please tell us about your experience? I know you and I had a little bit of conversation about that. Can you please talk about what that experience was like? What led you to go to Florida when you were 17, and just that story in itself?
Okay. I moved to Florida like right after I graduated high school, maybe like 6 months later, probably after that. So I was about 18, and I moved there because I met my grandpa that same year.
Okay.
He wasn't doing good, and so me and my sister actually moved there together.
Mm-hmm.
And my time in Florida was interesting. Like I just found different parts of myself. I grew. We were basically on our own without my mom finally. So it was just different. It was just I was learning what I wanted to do, what I liked about myself, and I also went through a depressing stage. But I overcame that thankfully. But I think Florida was definitely, I would call it a learning experience. Like it was something to grow from. I know where I once was, and I know where I don't want to go back to. Type thing. But my time with my grandpa was just very much appreciated, and I don't see him like as often, of course. But it was definitely an interesting time in Florida.
Okay, so you hit on the aspect of depression, right? I think when it comes to mental illness, even saying illness is a tough thing, because then someone's like, oh, like you're like sick, you're almost illness. Someone says like, oh, you're about to die, but like mental illness is a real thing, and like depression is real. A lot of people don't like to talk about it, which makes no sense at all, because I think it's a very big part of everybody's life, whether you know that you. And so, could you one, what did you learn about your depression while you were in Florida? Two, how were you able to overcome it, and how are you still overcoming it every single day? Because it's not like it just goes away right away. You just have to learn how to live with it and navigate around it. So how'd you handle your depression state, and how have you overcame it in a sense?
So when I was in Florida, I was surrounded by water, of course. But
Right.
so I honestly took a lot of walks. I got lost in different cities in Florida, and in Arizona, I didn't really explore. I was raised here, so I didn't really do anything exploring. So when I moved to a new space in Florida, I would just go to different spots. I would like go next to the bayou. I would write poetry. I'm a poet, and so that would bring me more peace. I would cook, of course, but so I would just like I got into photography, so I just found out more things about myself that I found that I like, and so that kind of helped me overcome it and just letting that be the forefront of me, and rather than like the negativity, bringing like more positive things that I actually like to do in life, rather than think about all the things I can't control.
Right.
And so that honestly, that helps me to this day.
Really?
Things I can't control.
Okay. What would you like to tell people about depression that they don't really know about now, or what would you tell someone that is going through depression right now how to handle? I guess you can't really tell someone how to handle their issue, but you already talked about what helped you. But what's some advice that you would tell someone else who's going through depression at the moment?
I would say just try to stay positive, like, and that's so cliche, but I think
Yeah.
it's just I think that if you just try to stay positive and just find something that you like as for yourself, it'll be, and that's for you. And that's like trying to please the next person. I think it'll be like a better journey or a healthier journey. I would say.
Yeah.
Because depression, you do. I think everyone does. And I think with the illness, it's not an illness though.
Yeah.
It's like it's not an illness. I think it's a mental space that people go through.
Right.
And I think it's not talked about enough.
Okay, so you said that for you to basically kind of almost like shrug off what people said, right? Like to not worry about what they talking about, to just kind of focus on you and what you're trying to achieve. What are some of the struggles that you've had to go through as just who you are in general and your background and just everything about you? What are some things that you've had to shrug off that people have said about you in the past, or still seeing you talking about you till this day? How do you shrug that off? It seems so simple, but it's actually a lot more difficult than it sounds.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult. I think for a majority of my life, I would think about what other people thought about me, and that came with me being a woman, me being a lesbian. It just came as so many aspects of my life.
Right.
I think I was just so pressed on, let me make sure this person is good. Me moving to Florida was also like just making sure my grandpa was okay when my mental wasn't okay.
Right.
I was just doing it because I thought that was what he needed to do, rather than what was okay for Vinneshea, was healthy for Vinneshea. And I think my business is kind of sad because it only started last year. So like up until last year, I was just doing what others thought, no matter who it was in my life. I'm just a person that if that other person was happy, that made me happy, even if I was really dying inside. But that person was happy, so that's enough. And I think me venturing on my business and like doing something that I'm very passionate about, and like it just makes me happy, makes me believe like, I can really do this life thing for myself.
Right.
So I don't think it's easy to shrug off. I think it's something you can work through, definitely. Right. And it took me a long time to work through, and like just to believe in myself, like others believe in me.
I definitely want to come back to the lesbian situation, because one, we're in the moment in the church, and a lot of churches, they shun that in the aspect of, you're not supposed to be lesbian, you're not supposed to be this or that and the other. I definitely want to hit on that later on, but for now, let's kind of rewind, right? Before you went on to your business venture, you had to work. What? You started working when you were in high school, and you not only did you go to school, but you worked long hours and long shifts. What was that experience like for you in high school and having to go through that? What did you learn during those times, and what do you wish you could have done back then that you are looking back now like, maybe I should spend more time doing this?
Yeah, I started working when I was 16. I was working 2 jobs, and my mom had to pay rent. Me and my sister paying rent. But I think it definitely taught us like how to be responsible. But so that's a good thing. Yeah. But just working in high school honestly taught me the value of like hard work. Is like you can honestly like just sit at home and do nothing, or you can go get something that you really want to do by working for it. And I think one thing I will change, I think how I invested in myself. Like now, because I did not used to invest in myself, I would like buy like things that are like materialistic, but I wasn't really investing in myself. I think if I would have started investing at 16, my life probably would be like more advanced probably, and I would be in like a better headspace. I like my maturity level, but I still think I could have been in a better headspace if I would have been doing the things I'm doing now at 16, especially since I was working so young.
When you say invest in yourself, what does that mean?
Like such things as things that can like I would say like saving my money and getting into stock. Like I didn't start getting into stock until I I worked for Walmart.
Right.
And I think if I would have been doing that, it could have been like just growing gradually.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have invested in myself in such things as like starting a business later on. I probably wouldn't want to start when I was 16, but just me having that like income, just sitting there, knowing I want to do something with it one day,
Mm-hmm.
and getting a vehicle because that makes a huge difference.
Just a little bit, I think it does.
Yes.
You can get yourself a vehicle, and when you were working 2 jobs.
When I was working 2 jobs, I was working 2 jobs and still like spending my money. I was like traveling. I was giving my mom my money. I was spending money on clothes and like
Right.
now thinking about that, I don't even have any of those clothes. I would have been done so many things different at 16.
Mm-hmm. What is it called? So you worked 2 jobs, okay, and then you went to Florida, and then also you worked there as well too.
Yeah, I worked 2 jobs in Florida as well.
Okay. Now, so that leads us to the next segue in the aspect of remember when we were messaging on Facebook, you said that you a lot of times we're not taught how to. A lot of times we're just taught how to survive instead of actually live life, right? To I forgot what a specific term that you used, but I want you to kind of go a little bit deeper in that aspect of it. So a lot of people were told, okay, go to school, get a degree, go work this 9 to 5 job, have a career, and then stay and then retire at 60 or whatever it is. What? Why do you think you're different in that aspect than everyone? Why is your mentality different? What did you have to go through? What did you experience it, or is that just have you had this mentality that you grew up that like I don't want to work for nobody, I want to work for myself? Where does that come from?
Um, my mom taught us how to survive,
Mm-hmm.
rather than like live in the moment or like,
Right.
and which is like I think a survival skill is good, you
Right.
know, but like it's just exactly what it is to survive.
Mm-hmm.
You're not realizing how quick life is going by because you're trying to survive rather than live.
Yeah.
And I think just my journey through depression and just going from state to state and just viewing other people and viewing my mother and viewing my family, I realized I don't want to be like that. I realized I wanted to be on my own and just working for other people. Like I realized like me working for myself, that's something that I'll be proud of. Like my mom always wanted to be an entrepreneur and do her own thing,
Mm-hmm.
and she didn't get to. Well, I can do that. I can
Right.
just make a choice to do that. So I make a choice to work on my craft every week or every day, or how can I get better at this,
Mm-hmm.
just so I can work on my own and not live to survive, but just live, just to live.
Okay, so before you went on to this whole venture on your own, you also I remember we talked about you had a mentor in a sense. I don't know. I wouldn't know if you would consider a mentor, but someone that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
helps you navigate that aspect.
Mhm.
Would you talk about? Can you talk a little bit about him and why he was so important in your life and in that time of moment? Why was he so important?
Yeah. So I worked at JJ's Lives in a Barbecue. It was one of my jobs. I think a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I worked for him for 2 years, and it was a catering company, and he came from Louisiana and came back up to Phoenix, and he just started cooking in his in his kitchen at his apartment, and he just started selling places like that, and then he was set up at like Walmart's, and then he eventually got a food truck, and then he
Right.
eventually got a kitchen, and so now he had like a food truck and a kitchen. So that was inspiring just to watch that, and just his flavor, like the way he cooks. I don't cook barbecue, but just the way his flavor is, like he added, it was just the specifics, like this has to taste like this, and it was different. Like my mom was not like that, my brothers
Right.
weren't like that, so just a different outlook.
Mm-hmm.
And so on like the cooking side, he was inspiring, and then on the business side, because he really started from nothing and he made it into something. Now he has a name. Now he has a name for himself. Now people like know of him,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I need to be on that level. And he would speak to me about it, and I would just talk to him about my dreams, and he would always like motivate me, saying I can do it, but I just didn't believe in myself at the time.
Right.
And so I think at that time in my life, he was like you said, a mentor, exactly what he was. And he's still a mentor to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And just watching him just grow, and then he has a family, and he's still just this man who stands for, has his business, has his name, and it's exactly what he's passionate for.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. Like, I love it.
How important do you, especially in this time of age where there's so much racial injustice, this whole, how important is it for you to almost say like, yo, I am a black woman, not only just black, but you're also a black woman. Like, and saying, "Yo, I started something from scratch, and I'm working my way up." I remember we were talking. You said because you've always wanted to do it, but at a point you kind of like you didn't like saying you didn't believe in yourself, so you stopped. So I think a lot of people when they're starting up something, they make like we were talking in the beginning. They see the outcome. They see what you're at in the moment you're succeeding, but they don't see everything that you had to like endure and overcome. For
Yes.
you, how important is it for you that you're like not only a black person, but you're a black woman starting from scratch and then working your way up, and now it's starting to look really dope. What are you looking at? Like, how what's your mentality like? Like, dang, like I've been doing this for a year, and now it's finally starting. Like, I can see some like a light at the end of the tunnel. What is that?
My
What does that look
mentality
like
is
now?
growth. Like my mom's starting to cook, and she's like now coming to me for advice, and
Mm.
that just feels good. Like
Bro.
it, and I just like help her on things, and I like motivate her because when I was in the beginning, I was exactly where she was,
Mm-hmm.
and now like it's a year later, it's like, oh yeah, I want to book you for a wedding, and it's
Yeah.
like it's just crazy. Like wow, if I never would have started this, I who would have known? I would have. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like who would have known
Yeah.
where things could have gone? But I decided to like step in the kitchen and
Yeah.
do exactly what I love and put it out into the world. And I think a lot of people do not like chase their passions or like go after actually what they want because they're afraid of putting it in the light, putting it
Right.
in the world. Like, oh, this person can damage it. I mean, but
Mm-hmm.
there's so many other people can lift it up.
Right.
And so,
That's very true.
yes, you know, so I
Yeah.
just think that my mentality is growth. Like I'm grateful and I'm humble and I smile all the time. Like I'm just even today I got an inquiry and I'll just and it was just an inquiry. Even if it's just an inquiry, it just makes me happy because they're interested in me
Right.
for them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they have all these other people within Phoenix and they decide to book with Nisha Home Cooking. So
Yeah.
I think it's just a grateful feeling and especially when my mom comes to me, like that's just
That's the
so,
best.
yes, like okay, now you can live your dream. You know, I'm
Yeah.
just proud of her. I'm
That's
proud of
dope.
myself. So yeah.
Okay, so now help the people out there understand like it's not gonna always be perfect, right? Like
Mm-mm.
none of this is gonna be perfect. What does Nisha do to help overcome her down moments? Like where you're like, man, well maybe right now it might be like really dope, like you're getting a lot of people asking for you to come cater for them. But like before in those down moments, where maybe like no one was really reaching out to
Yeah.
you saying, but you still had to post pictures of your food, telling people, hey, this is what I'm doing. No one really responding to the likes that everyone cares so much about. You're not getting that much likes, but
Yeah.
what did Nisha do in those moments to help her continue to chase that passion of hers?
I thought I was like my mindset is in the fact that, like my restaurant, me getting a restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
me getting a food truck, me
Right.
having 2 restaurants when I turned 30. That was just it. Just kept being my motivation. Like
Right.
okay, it might not get this many likes, or okay, my clientele didn't like this dish, but okay, what can I do better next time?
Right.
And what can I like? How can I become? How can I make this dish better?
Mm-hmm.
Or how can I like say this better? Because there's been a few bumps and it it's a few bumps and it's like okay, I felt very discouraged. Like okay, let me just take a break. But it's like no, that's one thing out of like 10.
Mm-hmm.
So if you focus more on like the bright things and the purpose, if you like remember your purpose of what you started at, because I stopped twice. And one I wasn't focused, and the other one I wasn't in the right mindset.
Right.
I think if I was in the mindset I am now, I probably wouldn't have stopped those 2 times. But I think me being in those mindsets made me humble for these times.
Right.
Because I wasn't completely all the way there, I guess I would say. Like I wasn't fully motivated.
What was the mindset back then?
The mindset back then was like, nah, I can't do this. I can't. Like I wasn't believing in myself.
Right.
I didn't know what that felt like. I didn't know what it was. I was crying about money. Like, and now it's just like, well, it's always gonna come.
Right.
And the purpose of it, I was thinking about the wrong things, like not believing in myself, thinking about money, rather than just thinking the fact that you can do this. And the purpose is because you like to serve people, because you like to cook.
Right.
Because you like to see smiles on people's faces.
Mm-hmm.
Because one day you would like to have the generational wealth of passing it down to your nieces and nephews or your kids.
Right.
Having that restaurant on your name. And that's the purpose. I think if you focus on your purpose and the reason why you started,
right,
then you'll always be on the right track.
Let's talk a little bit about the money aspect of it, right? A lot of people chase their dreams, their so-called passion, because it makes a lot of money, right? Yeah. That's and my little brother and I were talking about it before. We're curious to know if they never put like dollar signs after a career, like when you go to college and they go to like career fairs and stuff like that, they have the teachers, they have the doctors, they have the engineers, they have the mechanics, and they always have how much their salary, right? We're like, we wonder what people would really be doing in life if there was never a dollar sign after those things. It just literally said what it was in the description of it. We feel like a lot more people would be doing something completely different, but a lot of people are always chasing the money, right?
Chasing the wrong thing.
And so like what you're saying, like I think what was dope, you said the money's gonna come, right? Like attractive people just attract they attract attractive things. If you're not an attractive person, you're not gonna attract anything, right? And so if you're too busy chasing money, you're not gonna be attractive because no one wants a money chaser, right?
Exactly.
And so what can you talk about that whole issue, like for you, where you had to switch that mentality from, okay, I don't want to chase money anymore, but like you're saying, that passion of yours.
Yes. So in 2018, I actually tried to like start, and I was in the whole wrong mindset. I was just thinking about money, this, but I was overspending money. Okay, on fast food or on this new dress.
Yeah.
Okay, but like you can invest in yourself. And so I didn't start. I just kept having that mindset, and then I went to Florida and to visit my grandpa and my sister, and I was having these intelligent conversations with people, and it was just, and they were older, and then some people were my age, and it was just at a time in my life where I needed to hear that, and I think God knew that. And so I had those conversations, and I was like, wow. So I went back to Phoenix. When I came back to Phoenix, I was in a whole different like space, I would say, like a different aura. Like it was just different. I just seen things differently. And so then I just started cooking, but I wasn't really starting my business. I was just trying to like, let's see what I can, if I'm really like passionate about this. I've been cooking since I was 10.
Yeah.
So I've always loved cooking, but like, let's see if it's passionate enough to give to the world. And so then August came around, and I was like, I'm just gonna start it. And people at my job, I was at Walmart at the time, and people at my job was like, yeah, just start it. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start it. And I didn't get anything. I didn't get any sales. I didn't get anything. Looking at that poor food, like looking at that poor food. But like the quality, it was just no. But it was the fact that I was even putting myself out there, which is good. I think when someone puts themselves out there, that's just showing their vulnerability and their strength. And so then I eventually like kind of got like knocked down because I wasn't getting any sales, and my mindset still wasn't where I wanted it to be, and I knew that. I knew it, I just couldn't get there. I didn't know how to get there. So I just kept thinking about the money. Okay, I have to spend this, And I think it literally took me January of 2020 for my mindset to shift. Like, look, you can either invest in yourself and invest in other people. Like, you can invest in yourself and actually do something that makes you happy, or you can keep giving to others, or you can keep trying to live by others rather than just living by yourself. So I live in your word. And so then my mindset changed, and by the time I think May came, like I was like, I want to say, what's the word? Like I was just letting things go by. Like I wasn't doing things I knew I needed to do and that I should have been doing. But I just kept letting it go by. But then I think maybe April, May came around, and I was like, look, just do this. And right when I got my LLC, I was like, you know what? You're already set.
Right.
Look, this exactly.
I don't know what was the L. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's a limited liability company. So it's like a business license, basically.
Right, cool. Big time. I'm sorry.
Big time.
Okay.
But I wanted to get that just to feel like good, and it's good to have for business. Yeah. And so once I got that, I was like, you know what, Vinneshea, you literally can do this. This is exactly what was meant for you. And after that, I kept getting booked after that. And I stopped thinking about the money. Thank you. Okay. I just stopped thinking about the money. I was like, you know what? Even if I was, and now in my mindset, like I'm going to Atlanta to go cook.
Hey, let me come with you, girl. I'll take a couple of days off. I got to.
I'm excited too. But if I would have been thinking it like, if I was in an August mindset of last year, I would have booked the trip to Atlanta to go cook because I'm spending more money than I'm making. But it's the fact that I'm networking, the fact that I'm getting my name out there. And I started having more of a business mindset than a personal mindset. Like, okay, do this for the business. It's for the business. It's for the business. Like, it's good. And so now I just changed my mindset to that, and knowing it's better for you, knowing it's working for you.
Yeah. And that's so first you hit so many good points there. One, you just gotta start. Like I think, like people say, the hardest thing is to take the first step. Like after the first step, though, you finally get a little bit of balance. Yeah, you're still a little shaky, like a little kid when they first start walking. After that first step, they're like, oh, and then they fall down like after a while, but it's gonna be shaky. But then you're like you're saying, your mentality changes. Once you make that mistake, you're like, okay, I can't make that same mistake again. But at least you started. That's the biggest thing. And then the mentality aspect. It's like no longer can it be about you. Like once it's about like, okay, there's a purpose behind what I'm doing. It's not about Nisha at this moment. I'm thinking about the people after Nisha. What are they gonna have from me? And so then when you think like that, then there's no way you could give up on your dream after that. People try to anyway, but no, you made some extremely great point. But let's go a little bit more into the your belief and your spiritual aspect, right? So we can go ahead and get yourself a little bit of water. No, you're fine. So, when you're let's talk about your spirituality when you're younger, that experience, and then now as you again maturing, you start to learn who you are and love yourself. But from the beginning, talk about that going to church, that kind of experience, and what that looked like for you growing up.
So I grew up going to church with my auntie, my sisters, and we went to Pilgrim Rest Church. We first went to a Mormon church. My mom didn't know where to put it. Like right. She did not know where to put it. Okay. Yes. And so then eventually my auntie started letting us to go to church with her. So I went to Pilgrim Rest, and it just never felt like it was okay to. I think it just wasn't the correct church home. I think, and I didn't know. But we were so young, we couldn't really choose our church home. We had to go with like family. And so me and my sister eventually stopped going because we felt that wasn't our church home. And we still like prayed, and I still talked to God personally, especially when I went to Florida. I think that's exactly when I got closer to God. Right. It was just me and him. And so it was an experience, and we didn't really feel like, my auntie didn't take it any type of way at first. Right. It just like, I think she thought we were like drifting from our faith. Right. And which is understanding in her like aspect. Why she would think that. But we just started doing our own thing type of stuff. And then I didn't go to church for a while. But I still kept like my relationship with God. I think it's your relationship that matters. I don't think it's like the church home that matters. I think if you find a church home, that's great. Like I have one church home that made me feel like welcome. And it was a small church. This Pilgrim Rest is a really big church. Have you heard of it? It's a really big church. So I was always used to big churches. I was never in a small church. Yeah. So then when I came back from Florida, I went to my friend's church, and it was smaller than this. It was a really small church. And I was crying. I was like, I felt like the preacher was speaking to me. And I think it was that aspect in my life. I was going through things with my mother. I was going through my living situation. I didn't know where I was going to lay my head. It was just a lot of things going on. Yeah. And so I just felt like it was that specific time I was supposed to be in that church. And I haven't been in church in a few years. Yeah. And so in that specific time, I was supposed to be there. And they were just holding my hand. I went up to the preacher, and I was just crying. It's like he was speaking like everything I needed to hear. And so after that, like, I just devoted more time into my relationship with God, because I didn't think I was doing that like very well. And that's probably why I was so off balance. Yeah. And so I was doing I think we have a good relationship, and honestly can be better, just like a lot of things. But I think my faith in him is exactly what like keeps bringing me me further. I think, you know, I feel you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to explain it, but I think it's just my faith in him that gets me like, and I talk to God a lot with my sister Takija. And it's just, I think because she's like has that entrepreneur mindset, so it's easier to speak about business with her. And then, so when it comes to like our faith, it's like, wow, he really heard me. Like, it's crazy. Like, and you can just, and I talk to God a lot in the shower, and we just have that conversation. So that's like my spiritual relationship with him. It's just my relationship. Right. I don't think it's.
Hit on that some more. I think people are so lost in that aspect of it. I think people think that God is so far away, like he can't really hear you. No, but like the way you're treating it, it's literally like you and I, like you're not communicating. Like I can call you wherever I'm at. I'm like, hey, what up, Nisha? How you doing? Like, talk a little bit more about that. It's more of a relationship than it is anything.
And I think it's so iffy to talk about, because people think it's like, oh, so you don't do this. no, but I have this. Like I have,
Right.
it's me. We were right here with it, but
Exactly.
it just, I think a lot of people don't know how to comprehend that, and because so they think that you're not really in tune with your God. With your God, I call it your God because everyone's. I think everyone has their own belief in God, and it's not for me to tell someone who their God is.
Right.
And so I think I have my specific relationship with Him,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I don't. I wonder why people think he's so far, but I think it's important to hold him close.
Right.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I wish I could have an answer, but
I know. I wish so
it's
too.
not.
It's
It's
just
not far.
yeah.
It's not far. And I think if you find a church home, or if you don't find a church home, I think it's your relationship. Because you can go to church all day and then go home and act like, oh, in that case, like, you know, like you can like fit the role so well, but what are you doing? Like when you leave the church home.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? What are you doing after your prayer or after your talk with God? Like, what are you? How are you practicing what you preach? What are you doing within your actual life? And
hey, go ahead, girl.
I want to say this.
Hey, go. Hey, go ahead.
I think some people, like, I think individuals, they like feel God owes them something. And they don't want to. They don't want to work for it. Like
go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, yes, you said your prayer in the morning. You said your prayer at night. Now, what are you doing within those 24 hours of your day? What are you doing to get there? Because He's not just gonna give it to you. You have to work for it.
Right.
And so then when you feel like you actually have it, it feels even better because you worked for it, and the fact that He listened to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But see, so here's what we're confused though. I was reading a book, listening to a book. And it was almost like, it's called Screw Tape Letter. It's basically like an older demon speaking to a younger demon. And it's kind of like talking about prayers, right? And he says, oh, the best thing that a human can do when they're praying is basically pray and ask God for something. Because a lot of times when they don't get their prayer, and they're like, oh, there's no God. And then a lot of times when they do get what they prayed for, they end up figuring out a way like, oh, I did this, I did that, and so I got it myself. And so what happens, there's like, you literally, then God is never in the middle of that. You prayed about it, you got it, but you still think that you're the one that was able to do it. Did you work for it? Yes, but you're supposed to. But God answered that prayer through your hard work. And so we always forget to go back and give it back to God and be like, yo, thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, exactly. Be thankful. Like, what are you going to do back to, like, show your appreciation? You know what I'm saying? What are you going to do? Are you going to keep having faith in Him? Or are you just going to say this one prayer and then every time you pray, you're just asking for something?
Exactly.
What are you doing to, I completely agree with that. I need that book.
No, it's a really
I need that
dope
book. But yeah, you can't, I feel like you have to work for it within your prayer and also show your thankfulness. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't just like with people, you can't just like take. You know, it's gonna get tiring. Like you can't just. What are you doing for yourself? I think that person will like eventually feel empty because they're taking, and they don't really have any gratitude within them because they're just taking.
And so here's the thing though. Like at some point, once you can only take so much. Like you only have two hands really. So at some point, God's like, yo, I'm ready to give you something so much bigger. But you keep on to take all these little things from like different places. You're just all you're doing is trying to take. You need to give something away. You need to give back somehow, some way. Because look, what I have behind my back is so much bigger and greater than you could ever imagine. But your butt is being hella greedy right now. So I need you to get your stuff together. So let's kind of go a little bit. So your sexuality, right? So like you hit on the beginning, you said that you're a lesbian. How have you had to navigate through life being that? Not only are you religious, but you're a Black woman and you run your own catering thing. But what's been your struggle like for that? And how did you find a way to have self-love? Like you love, because I feel like a lot of people who are lesbian or gay or whatever, they genuinely have to love themselves because there's so much people throwing so much hate at them and so much negativity. And never really getting to know them for who they really are. All they say, oh, they have that label. So I don't want to say, especially a lot of Christians, like, oh, I don't want to associate myself with it. Like, talk about how you found a way to love who Nisha is and how you're able to navigate through that aspect of your life every single day.
I think I'm still learning how to love Nisha is. I think every day is a different journey, and I think that evolution, the evolving within who I am and like growing into this woman, it's something to newly love every day, if I'm saying that right. But like as far as my sexuality, when I was I knew when I was like younger, but I didn't like it. Like, cause I went to church and I wasn't supposed to be this way. That's exactly what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was very open. My brother had gay friends. My mom had gay friends. So it was never like it's not in my house type stuff.
Right.
It was just something I didn't even want in my own body. I didn't want in my own heart. Like I didn't believe I was supposed to be that way because I thought I was wrong. I thought I was doing something wrong. And so for I don't like for like my freshman year, for years I didn't like it. I wasn't comfortable with it. And I wasn't really open to anything except work and books. So I wouldn't even allow anyone like to come close to me because I knew what I liked, but I just wasn't okay with it. And so I think within when I was probably like 17, I got to where I can say, oh yeah, I like women, but it was maybe to like 3 people. And those are like my sisters, my best friend. It wasn't like something I wasn't very out with.
Yeah.
And so when I went to Florida, I was on my own. I didn't have like my brothers on my back. I didn't have my immediate family always there because at my mom's house, everybody was always there. Like it was probably always like 8-10 people in the house, always, no matter what day it is. Yeah. And so, and me growing up, I felt like I had to live for other people, and so I didn't want to disappoint them being someone different. And I had to learn like they're gonna love you or they're not going to love you, and that's completely okay because you're still gonna be you. And so when I went to Florida, it was also in my depression stage. I had to like really come to terms. It really had to come out of me. Like, okay, Vinneshea, you really have to realize like it's okay to love who you love. And when I came back to Phoenix, that's when I actually let someone even remotely come close to me or tell me I was pretty. I wasn't, and that was very big for Vinneshea because I wasn't always just open about it. But I had to learn that, especially in this society, you have to really be okay with who you are, even when you step out the house, because not everyone's gonna like you, or everyone is going to like you at the end of the day. It doesn't matter who likes you though. At the end of the day, it's who you like and who you love about yourself. And I am very proud of my sexuality today. Now it's completely different. My mindset is I think I would want to call it stronger, I would say. And I'm way more comfortable within my skin, and it's not like it doesn't make me like itch anymore.
Okay.
And so yeah, but loving myself is definitely like a journey within all the different mood changes and the different aspects of my life, and learning that it's life and that's okay, and like that's exactly what you're doing, and it's life and not everything. Because I have very bad anxiety, and so it just some things I feel like are not going correctly, but I can't control everything, and so I have to learn that.
Okay. So let's talk about, so you said like you just said you have anxiety and the whole depression aspect of it. You picked up writing. I don't know how long you were writing for before you got to Florida, but I know you told me that you picked up writing and poetry. How important is poetry to Vinneshea?
Oh, poetry is like that's the way I describe myself. I've been writing since I was 9, and so I used to be really into just reading, and then my dad got me my Angelou book, and so after that I would just, because I used to write just like short stories all the time, and then I got into poetry, and my dad got me that book, and it's just been poetry ever since. So poetry is just, I think it's just like cooking. It's a muse for me. Like if I need to calm down, I can just cook. I can just write I don't try to be forceful with poetry though, because I think it's art. It's art at the end of the day, and art's not supposed to be forced. It's supposed to be something that comes naturally, and so poetry just comes naturally to me. I just got a poem tattooed on me that I wrote. I did.
What does it say?
Oh, it's a poem.
Oh, it's a
long poem. I'll say
you
it.
haven't memorized it yet? Oh, I thought you.
I can't memorize my poems. I can't. I listen to spoken word all the time, but I cannot do it.
So let me
I don't have
you're not
the
good at
flow.
remembering music either.
Oh, I can, I guess.
Okay, what from the top of your head? If I told you, hey Nisha, I need you to rap a whole song right
now? Oh yeah, I can't do
what's
that.
What's that song?
Rap a song? I can sing a song.
Or sing a song.
Yeah,
what
song? I can't sing though. It'll be Angel by Amanda Perez.
All right, let me hear the first 8 bars.
No.
Let me hear a little song. Nah, I'm just joking.
Put me on blast.
That's just funny. Okay, so poetry is extremely important to you.
Yes.
I'm guessing you also use it to kind of like. And I think it's quite interesting you say that because a friend of mine that I have, they also got me into poetry. And at first, I was writing a lot. Like it
Yeah.
almost felt so I was writing a lot. And then all of a sudden, lately, like, I haven't really been writing, and it's almost like when I try to force myself, it just doesn't come out the same. Like it feels funny, and like I didn't understand why until you said that. Like, because poetry is just literally just flows out, like whatever emotion you're feeling in that moment. And back then, I was feeling a lot, so it was a lot easier to write. That's a very interesting point. Maybe I should stop trying to force it and it just come naturally.
I want to write a poetry book, but it's gonna take a long time because it
I'm
can't
a-
be forced.
I was gonna say, when are we gonna either get a cooking book from Nisha?
Yes.
Have you been thinking of? Oh, you want?
I want to do so I want to start with a printable. I'm seeing like a lot of chefs are doing like $5 cookbooks, but it's just like a printable. And I have a bunch of recipes in my iBooks, so I'm thinking about coming out with something like that before an actual book. Because I want a book maybe to come out in 2022. Because I just need to get my cultures going, like different flavors. So I gotta tap into other things where I can cook with. But I definitely want to start with printables. And people keep asking me to do YouTube, but I'm just too shy.
What?
Like I am too shy. I will laugh in front of the camera. I try to record my poetry, I just laugh. Like I really just laugh.
But the thing is, like, people they just want to get connected with Nisha. Like, they want all it like people, especially nowadays, it's reality TV. They just want everything about everybody.
That's true.
Because it's interesting, why? Because I think a lot of people don't. Unlike, because you're enjoying, like, you're living life to the fullest, right? Yeah. A lot of people are scared to live life to the fullest, so I think they just want to see someone else living life to the fullest, so they can always be like, oh, dang, I could be living that, and no one really does anything about it. But it's just, I guess I can't do it. I'm like, why am I sitting here watching this person living their best life? I wish I could be doing it, but
you can do it.
Hey,
we all can do it.
Hey, we all can.
All can do it.
But look, if you can network even more by getting it, you better. But if I gotta create the freaking channel for you, I'm
too nervous. I get in front of the camera, I'll be like,
you're doing fine now. What's it like? You're doing just fine.
You're right. I'll start. I just gotta get into a groove. I definitely just gotta get into a groove.
Okay.
I just looked at a kitchen yesterday, so maybe I'll start recording like when I get my kitchen.
You just saw a kitchen? What do you mean? Don't you need to already have had a kitchen?
Yeah, but I'm getting like a commercial kitchen.
What does that mean? Like what? Like a different place where you're cooking?
Yeah, and I can like be on different platforms.
I ain't going crazy. Okay, that literally leads to the next segment. Okay, so we're wrapping up. We're getting towards the end. Tell people who they already kind of just got a little bit of who you are. But now, what is Nisha up to now? What are the new things that are happening to you? Where can people find you? How can they connect with you to get catering and all that good stuff about Nisha so you can get there? Like, the best way that I can help you with my I want to help you get connected. How can people find you? And what is Nisha working on right now that's coming up? Let's get people excited about it.
So Nisha's coming up with different recipes. I just got a Jamaican cookbook, and so I want to like add more recipes into my menu. I would say so I don't have a set menu because I'm always adding to it. Like I'm just trying to stay up to date. And what I'm working on right now, I'm doing a few pop-up events out of state.
Okay.
And so
what states are those? People can know that are those states. I don't know if I have them on my Instagram, but if they see it somewhere,
what states?
What states are you going to, girl, so they can know?
So I'm planning Houston.
I have a friend in Houston.
Okay. I have Atlanta coming up. That's secured. And then
we got that in the bag. All right.
Yes. Cool. Oh, I'm also catering for them. I'm catering and selling.
For who?
For people in Atlanta.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm just that.
Okay, so Atlanta, Houston,
and I want to go to California. I want to go to Tennessee, but like I've never been there.
Okay.
So like I'm kind of iffy about it, but I just plan on going to like a different state every other month or every month.
Okay.
Just so I can get my name out there.
That's smart.
And you can find me at Nisha Home Cooking on Instagram and Facebook and Facebook as well.
What about Twitter?
My Twitter's personal.
Oh, okay.
But I do post it on Twitter, so you can follow me on Twitter if you want at Nisha.
Okay.
Yes, and what I just have coming up is really just pop events out of state, and I have 2 weddings coming up, and I have just a few small catering items. But yes.
Okay. To wrap up, the point of the podcast is to Share with the audience. Not only to motivate audience, right? So no matter what you've been through, no matter what you're going through in the moment, you're gonna be okay if you continue to make the first step, like what you're talking about. Yes, there's gonna be a lot of rough patches in the road. You can go through a lot of struggles, but you just gotta keep your head above water. And one day you're gonna finally get on the land, begin to walk, and see something even more beautiful. What would your advice be to the audience out there? If you had one thing to share with them, what would that one thing be?
It's a lot of things, but
Hey, okay, I'll give you three things that you need.
oh, three things.
You,
What?
you can share three, or one, or three things, whatever you
I'll
want
say
to do.
one thing.
Okay, three things. Let's do it.
I would definitely say stick to your purpose. I think there's a lot of road bumps and there's a lot of like disappointments and just realizing who's really there for you, but like just knowing that you're doing the right thing that's specifically for you. Like especially if it's your passion, you know, you feel it just feels even better when it's your passion. Like you know you're going to the right thing. Like with my business, I know I'm going on the right path.
Right.
It just feels right. It's something that is my relationship with God. Like I know exactly what's going like the path that I'm going on is the correct path. I might like get a bump here, but like at the end of the day, it's gonna like I'll be worth it. Like and it's a lesson at the end of the day. Like those bumps are just lessons.
Yeah.
And so just definitely go after your passion and exactly what your purpose is here for.
Okay. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate.
Thank
I
you
know
for
this is.
having me.
I know this is the second time we did it, but you are truly, really appreciated. I thank you.
are too.
Hey, y'all, thank y'all for checking out another episode of Let's Get Real with 7 podcast, man. Y'all heard it from Nisha, everything that she's been through, and y'all better remember the name, all right? Because I'm going to be going to her food truck again with whatever vegan stuff you end up making sooner or later. I'll be there. But as always, man, God loves you. I love you. God bless and stay safe. Thank y'all. Love y'all. Peace. That's a wrap.